for us to save the content so other people that are not able to make this session can listen to the StephREDD. Welcome once again, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I hope you had a great day, and looking forward to having another learning opportunity. Welcome to G.E.Ms Coach Network Interactive Session. G.E.Ms, GEMS means great, G for great, E for excellent, HR Great Excellent Mindset Coach Network. We are a learning community looking at learning live transformative methodology that help in the workplace to drive organizational productivity and performance. I always say we are not a coaching
Hi, Coach. It appears your network is just wanting to be saying that's interesting. Hi, everyone. Sorry, Coach Lara, just logged out to set out our network. She should be back in a couple of minutes and then we'll start. Thank you for your patience.
My sincere apologies. Are we back? Hi, everyone. My sincere apologies.
Can hear you.
I got disconnected. Can everyone that I got disconnected? So on that note, I'll hand over to our coaches in training, Ayodeji Oyewumi and KG, to take the session on from here. So Ayodeji, over to you.
Good day, Coach, and good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you again for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone for your time. You mentioned coaching training, Coach. I'm a certified coach.
Oh, wow, fantastic. My apologies. Hey, thank you. My apologies. Sorry.
No
I mean, KG's coaching training, not to, sorry. Coach, I did. My apologies. Yes.
All right, so my work is really, I'll just be introducing Steph, who has a number of us,
Oh, we're actually struggling to hear you.
Sorry about that. How is it now?
A
Just want to
bit
be.
better. Yes, a bit
Okay.
better. Please go ahead.
All right, then. So I'll just be introducing Coach Steph. We're reading a short profile of ours, and then the floor would be all ours
Sure.
following. So StephREDD is a connoisseur coach, speaker, trainer, motivator, an all-round fun communication expert with an inborn talent of singing, dancing, and role-playing. She's bilingual, holding a master's degree in French language, and she's a certified life coach, global human resource professional, emotional intelligence and cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner. That's a mouthful, but I'm sure we'll hear and see much of that in display today. Steph has an audacious knack for making people laugh, even at their own insecurities, while offering them an opportunity to rise above them through our various interventions. She has organized and facilitated training, corporate and social events in English and French, uniquely and in collaboration with other notable consultants and trainers within and outside of Nigeria. Our greatest passion is to inspire, instruct, impact, and influence people to engage their genius for self-fulfillment and societal benefit. She's founder of Red Instincts, social development and empowerment. And with that, let's make welcome StephREDD to take us on a very engaging session and topic this evening. Steph, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayodeji. Wow, that was quite a mouthful. Hello, everyone. It's a much fuller house than I expected. Hi, Lara. Thank you so much for thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I do not take it for granted. It's quite a pleasure. It's quite a pleasure to be here, to see a lot of amazing faces. And I will not lie, I have butterflies in my stomach. But it pretty much is hunger that is beating them. They will soon go. But I look forward to us having an amazing evening and learning from each other and rubbing minds and sharing ideas. Okay, I'll just quickly share my slides. So we'll just go straight right to it. Welcome everyone, male, female, amazing HR practitioners and professionals that you are. It's an honor to be the one on this side of the laptop and to be the one speaking to you this evening. It's a total honor. I don't take it for granted at all. I'll just quickly share my slides and then let's get right onto it. Let's talk about this big elephant, this elephant in the room. Let's deal with the elephant, right? So welcome. I miss church, but this is having a good time. I wish I was having a physical meeting. I'll just say, turn to your neighbor and say, hello, neighbor. How are you doing? So I need you guys to get into the chat room and say hello to someone randomly. Just say hello to your neighbor in this meeting. Just say hello to someone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Invite more people, invite more HR professionals and tell them that something is happening in the HR coaching network, the HR G.E.Ms coaching network, and they need to be here. Okay? I'm not seeing your greetings. I'm not seeing your greetings. Greet your neighbor, say hello to a neighbor. Hello. Yeah, you said hello to me already. Say hello to hello, neighbors. Yes, thank you. Say hello to someone, call them by name. You don't need to know them. So long as they're here, they are your colleagues. Say hello to someone, say how are you doing to someone, private chat the message. You never know. Just in case there's some single people here, I've spotted one, and you spot one, just enter the person's DM and say, hello, how are you? I am an HR professional and I am single. How about you? Just make sure that you're saying hello to someone and that you're set to have a fantastic evening we're going to have. I look forward to that. Okay, I'll quickly introduce myself. But before I do that, our topic today is HR as a coach, an essential competence in today's workplace. When Deji, Dave, is it Deji? I didn't get that wrong. When he gave me this topic, I was wondering, honestly, I will tell you the truth. I wanted to run away from it. But the inborn instincts in me to take on challenges, I love a good challenge. It could be frightening, but the fact that it's frightening is what tells my leg go for it. For example, I just constantly every Saturday I get to increase the number of kilometers I walk, because the farther I go, the more gingered I get. I'm like, let's go further. Okay, I'll just introduce myself. I am StephREDD. A brief bio of who StephREDD is. I'll tell you where the StephREDD came from. I'm a bilingual. He has introduced that already, all the plenty certifications. I've worked a bit, my work while I was actively engaged in 9 to 5. I worked across Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ghana. Presently, I spend the best part of my life being an identity and communication coach. I coach, I train, I speak, I inspire, I motivate. And I believe strongly that my purpose is to communicate, to instruct, to inspire, to influence and impact, not just for self, but also for society. And I have this very interesting philosophy, which I believe has worked for me thus far, that impossible does not exist. But instead, I just tweak it a bit and say, I am possible. And because I believe that I am possible and that I have come to know that I am possible, having seen the trajectory of things over the years, I know that I should never give up until I win. So I constantly charge into every day that no matter what comes or goes, no matter what gives or doesn't, I never give up until I win. And even if I do not win, I ensure that I finish strong. That is my mantra. And that's pretty much what I live by. I'd like to know what you live by. To be nice to have you all share it, though I may not have time to look at it. We're running against time. I love to sing. I love to dance. And yes, I love to make people laugh. You can find out more about me at StephREDD.com. Where did the red come about? We'll talk about it some other time. It's not part of our topic of discussion today. So, ladies and gentlemen, meet Dame Comfort. Who's Dame Comfort? So Comfort is the HR manager for XYZ company, and she was summoned by to an EXCO meeting. Comfort, we're losing our key talent. We're not achieving our desired culture despite the policies and initiatives HR is driving. What's going on? The MD complained to Comfort. Now, Comfort was given a tough challenge to execute a culture change. How will she do it? Alone. How would Comfort drive the behavioral change in leadership? How will Comfort lead this change across the entire organization? Now, this case study came in I saw it, was it this morning actually? And I just said, hey, Coach Lara wants to change the trajectory of and I quickly had to start. I wanted to zoom in on the story as I started rearranging, and I hope and trust that I did a good job with that rearrangement. But let's just muse together on Dame Comfort. Who is Dame Comfort? She's a talent manager. She's onboarding expert. She's training manager. She's performance enabler. She's workforce engagement specialist. She's payroll regulator, and she's compliance champion. That is who Comfort is. Remember, Comfort is HR manager for XYZ company. But her primary responsibility, her primary business is to acquire suitable talent, to manage change and transition, to manage, improve and grow talent as well, to promote team cohesion, preserve succession, ensure employee engagement, share and manage information, and then be able to negotiate because, hey, she's dealing with different parties or he's dealing with different parties. Now, Dame Comfort could be male or female. We just decided to use Dame Comfort for this particular case study, okay? So now, what is really happening? And I would like your feedback. We are not achieving our desired culture despite the policies and initiatives HR is driving. I want your feedback. What do you think is going on here? Please send it into the chat room. What do you think this has done? What do you think is going on? What in one word, using one word, how would you describe what's going on? In the chat room, please. How would you describe what the company is underperforming, okay? One word of how, so distrust, thank you very much. Another word, any other one. One word, so there's distrust, how? There's distrust, the management is distrusting HR initiatives up and down. I can't see what's happening, right? So I really distrust disconnection. I like that. So I'll just hold on strongly to distrust, what ties into what I'm going to hold on. Thank you everyone for your contribution. And so the managing director, he doesn't want to hear. He just simply gives an instruction and tells Dame Comfort, gives her a deadline to say, Dame Comfort, a culture change must be effected as soon as possible. You better get right to it. And then Comfort is just wondering, so how am I going to go about this? What do I do? So let's try and muse a bit about how all of this works. Now, in every organization, I believe strongly that there are two major players. There are the vision curators, which is the management that curates the vision, that creates the vision. And then there are the vision executors, who are the employees. Now, these are two separate entities who exist in their respective circles. And the only thing that brings them together is the enabler, who is human resources, the indefatigable enabler. Because the HR, who is Comfort, now has to be able to bring the curators who have curated an amazing vision, but then they need people to execute that vision. And so looks for the people that are suitable to help achieve that vision and make sure that they stay in cohesion, right? That is the responsibility of Comfort. So what happened based on what I asked earlier, that what do you see is going on? What do you think has happened by that question that the MD has asked? Between the vision curator and the vision executioner, there's something that holds strong, and that is trust. So there's a lack of trust between the management and HR, and possibly between the executors, between the curators and HR, and between the executors and HR. Trust is being questioned. You are not delivering. For whatever reason, we pretty much know organizations will not deliver where there's a disengaged workforce, where there's a divergence in perspectives, which is what we're going to be talking about. How do you now align and rebuild trust? When trust is broken, HR cannot function because the management will not even give you ear because they don't trust you. Employees don't trust you, and management, they do not trust you as well. How do you get to the point where trust needs to be built? So Comfort is presently in a place where trust has been broken down. Now, years versus seconds. It takes years to build trust and just a second to break it. So we have to consciously ensure that we build trust that is sustainable and that we become that entity that has to be trusted. I'm speaking about Comfort now, and everybody here is a representation of Comfort. Now, you need to understand that you operate a business of trust. In the words of Warren Buffett, trust is like the air that you breathe. When it's absent, when it's present, nobody really notices it. But when it is absent, everybody notices it. So firstly, I need you to understand, if we're HR, as many HR professionals that are here, you are in the business of trust. That is pretty much what you use to hold the center together. The center being the entity of the vision curators and the entity of the vision executors. So the moment that trust breaks, things will fall apart, and definitely the center where you sit will not hold, and the organization as well will not hold, because you have a fantastic vision with nobody to help execute it. So what builds trust pretty much with, how do we build trust? Competence will help to build trust. There has to be reliability and consistency. Dependability, pretty much. There has to be commitment. There has to be the entity, Comfort, right, speaking of, has to be empathetic, has to be compassionate, has to have integrity, has to have open, objective, and unbiased communication. I hope everybody's...
Where you go reach? I beg, I don't come now for Mr. Okada.
Okay. I'm sure I want to mute everybody at this point. That Okada rider is looking for trouble. Okay, so I was saying building trust. These are the things you need to go through to build trust. Okay, so now let's get to work. What must Dame Comfort do? What should she start? How should she go about it? So this is where we get to work. First things first, we need to review perspectives. Now, what is perspective? Is the state of ideas, facts that are known to a person. Pretty much is the level of awareness. There's a saying where I come from, they say, now as percentage no meaning in English, that you cannot function above your level of awareness. And your level of awareness will determine your perspective. It is based on the facts that are known to you. It is based on what you know, and the true thing that you know has become your truth. It is the truth that you know, but we now have to understand that truth can oftentimes be subjective, I beg your pardon, to your position, to your perspective, and to your previous directive. So speaking about perspective now, what shapes perspective? Perspectives are shaped by your point of view, your standpoint, your position, your angle, your frame of mind, your frame of reference, which is a set of criteria or stated values in relation to which measurement or judgments can be made. So whatever judgment is being made in the entity of vision curators and vision executors, it is subject to a frame of reference. And if that frame of reference does not align, there will be no succession. There will be no success in the realization of the vision from the curators. Okay, I hope you're following me. So this is pretty much what perspective is all about. One person sees 6 and another person sees 9. None of them are wrong. What is pretty much happening is their standpoint. It's the point of view, it's the angle, it's the position, it's the standpoint. It's your frame of mind. And it's consistently what you have seen, heard, and experienced. That is what shapes your perspective. So if you want to shape your perspective, you want to change your perspective, you have to change what you see, what you hear, and make a conscious effort to determine, to recarve your experiences and determine the kind of environment that creates those things that you see, those things that you hear, and the lead to the kind of experiences that you have. Take that a bit further. Now, speaking about environments first, everything, an organization, your place of work is an environment. You see things, you hear things, you experience things in that place. Based on what you constantly see, hear, and experience in that environment, a culture is formed. And that culture will drive your beliefs, it will drive the values, it will drive how you perceive, it will drive your outlook towards work. And based on the culture which carries the beliefs and the values that you hold on to so strongly, it will determine organizational behavior among the vision, pretty much both the vision curators and the vision executors. It will determine performance. It will determine your commitment to work. It will lead to the outcomes. It will lead to the output. And eventually, all those things which has now become a behavior, have now become a habit, will eventually determine what XYZ brand identity is. Or which the brand identity is not anything written on the wall or standing on its own. It's a combination of the vision curators and the vision executors, because I beg your pardon, because the brand cannot work without these two people fusing together in synergy, understanding the purpose for which the vision has come together from both parts. So if you want to change a culture, which is the responsibility that has been given to Comfort, to change that culture, she has to first change the environment. And an environment can be physical or mental. So we see behaviors, we see, oh, change not happening. We see, oh, probably you can't call them recalcitrant employees. You see people that are not committed to their work, or there is employee disengagement. Those are the fruits. The root is the environment. Those are outcomes of a culture, whether a written culture or if an unwritten culture, of which many times in our organizations, we have more unwritten cultures than written cultures. So to change that culture, it's not just by changing, we are changing culture. Let's have business review management, business process reengineering, let's revamp, let's blah, blah, blah. We change all that. What we spend a lot of time doing, we change structure, we repaint, we rebrand, we change, we get new t-shirts and new cars and new all of that and new laptops. Since we cannot use cars anymore because the lockdown kind of limited the number of cars that were being put on the road. I'll use more laptops, right? Brand the laptops. The laptop is colored according to the organizational brand. If you do not change the environment in which those things thrive, you are back to square one. So taking it further now, let's look at let's talk more about these environments. And this is not just for organizations, but it's also for you as an individual, because organizations, teams are formed based on your personal environment. And when you're bringing yourself to work, you have to bring yourself whole as an HR person. You have to bring yourself with an understanding that you are creating an environment. Remember, you are an enabler. So you want to check the environment of your organization. In summary, your environment, you have provided sight, sound, and experiences to your employees. What they have constantly seen since they joined, what they have constantly heard, and what they have experienced have caused them to perceive a particular thing. Begin to perceive how they see your brand, begin to have thoughts, and those thoughts have generated feelings and emotions. Those feelings and emotions have actually birthed individual values, beliefs, and a personal culture that is presently in conflict with the organizational culture, presently in conflict with the organizational values. And one of the strongest, the worst things that happen to organizations is where there's a misalignment in values. Where there's a misalignment, you just find out that things are, it's not the fruits, like I say, it has to be dealing with those things that are underneath. All of this now will produce and lead to the responses, the reactions, the behaviors that you see that probably is not leading to performance, their outlook towards work, their outlook towards the organization and their line managers and their colleagues and just the entire thought of going to work. By Saturday, they're already having, by Sunday, they're having BPs. Just now, it was Friday, it's already Sunday. What's going on here? The decisions they begin to make, the choices, their personality, their results, eventually birth the kind of outcome, which is what has led to the managing director saying, I don't see what you are doing. So the first place that comfort needs to go to is to check the environment. And we need to now be able to view how to align these perspectives, which are different. Now, I like Bruce Stockman's team dynamics. In team dynamics, it talks about the form, storm, the norm, the perform. Sometimes in the process of the form, the norm, where the form and the storm, where storming goes on for too long, what happens? They adjourn. They adjourn for as long as they can come back and storm again and find a way forward. For as long as you don't find a way forward, they keep adjourning. Eventually, it packs up. Now, an organization is a team of a constitution of the vision curators and the vision executors who have come together as a team to achieve a goal. At the place of forming, which is pretty much a lot of times where comfort now stands to recruit, a lot of rules of engagement are defined. A lot of things are specified. And that is where you now find out that by the time they're moving, what causes the storm, you find out that he sees through green lenses. Rather, he sees through blue lenses. The organization sees through red lenses. The only way there can be a synergy of efforts between the curators and the executors is to put the lenses together, to align the perspectives so that for the sake of the organization's goal, it is purple. The world may be blue to the curators. The world may be red to the executors, but for the sake of the common goal, which is achieving the goal, the world has to be purple. And that is where comfort now has to come to align to say, oh, we're not in a black and white world anymore. For the sake of this vision, we have to see a colored world. Now, to do that, comfort now has to begin to empathize with both parties. Now, the responsibility of comfort, in the words of the infamous president, is, I am for everybody, but I am for nobody. Comfort is an enabler to ensure that the vision is achieved. And to ensure that to achieve the vision, there are the right people to get it done. It is a mutually beneficial agreement. So, comfort's target now is to begin to empathize and find out, to understand perspectives. She needs to start asking such questions like, what are they hearing? What are they seeing in the environment now at the bottom of the iceberg? What are they hearing? What are they seeing? And with they is an inclusion. Remember, XYZ brand identity is a combination of the curators and the vision and the executors. So both parts, what are they hearing? Not just what are they, there's what you hear and there's how you hear. There's what you see and there's how you see. That's why you find out that people can see a glass with water and some say, oh, it's half full, another one is half empty. It's not just what they saw, it's how they saw it. So the ability to now ask those questions, what are they hearing? How are they hearing? What are they seeing? How are they seeing? What are they thinking? What are they feeling as a result of what they are thinking? What are they saying as a result of what they are feeling? What are they doing as a response to what they are saying or as a reaction to what they are saying? What do they fear? Everybody fears something. Everybody fears something, no matter how high, how mighty, how rich. Every single person has a fear. The sooner you are able to identify your fears and determine how to engage, that's a topic for another day, how to engage or how to prepare to engage or how to withstand, the better for you as an individual and as an organization. So what do you fear? What do they fear? What do they want? What do the curators want? What do the executors want? These are questions that Comfort has to begin to ask. Now, it will require a review of the mission and goal, of perspectives, pretty much outlook, of competencies, of talents and potentials. It will require values, a review of values, a review of personality and behavior that is expected, however it is. But all of these were shaped and developed and enhanced in and by an environment, whether a location, physical, or a mindset, mental. So sometimes you just need to, Comfort pretty much needs to understand, are these people responding, because it's either a response or a reaction. Are they responding or reacting from a physical place or from a mental place? Understanding how to deal with that, that is one. So the culture change that is required is pretty much to redesign of XYZ brand identity in order to redefine mission, goal, perspective, competencies, values, perspectives, personality, with a goal to carve out a new crop of vision executors that are willing to run with, live for, and even die for the brand. Someone that says, hey, no, I don't want to die for the brand. What's that? Now, I'll tell you something. For every day you commit to something, you are dying for it. So you have to learn to choose what you are living for and what you are dying for. That is a hard truth that we must tell ourselves. For every time you commit yourself to a work, to a business, to a relationship, to a friendship, to whatever it is, you are either living for it or you are dying for it. So choose. They say, all die and die, choose your die. So choose the kind of death you are dying for. If you are working as an organization, Comfort, for every time spent in traffic, studying, reading, improving self, trying to ensure that things work, you are dying for a cause. And you are living for the cause. So you are willing to die for that cause, committing yourself to it, and you are willing to live for it. That is where you stand with purpose. Whatever I commit myself to is something to give myself fully to. I am willing to live for it. And even if death comes, I'm willing to die for it because I believe in it that strongly. So also throw in a question as Comfort. How well do you believe in that thing you are dying for? Whether it has been, you know, when you're talking about the team dynamics of form, storm, non-perform, one of the questions that should be asked at the forming stage is, why are we forming? What do we want to achieve? Where are we going? How long do we want to be together? Those are questions that are asked, should be asked in every team, when every team is come together, whether a team of two, relationship, marriage, or a team of many, institution, organization. You have to be able to ask that question because that means for the period defining duration, I'm going to be here for the next so and so number of years. And in this period, I am going to do this, that, and the other. So you know exactly what you're committing to. And when the time is up, you know, so it's not just that you're just staying because it's an anywhere belly face matter. But let's move on from there. So this is where you need a coach. Shall we say this is where you need a coach? Tell someone, this is where you need a coach. Tell your neighbor. Look for your neighbor and tell your neighbor in the chat room, this is where you need a coach, right? Am I with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
yes.
This, I was wondering. I said, tell your neighbor, this is where you need a coach. Now, who is a coach and what is the responsibility of a coach? Let's talk about that now. Let's take it a bit further. Who is a coach? A coach is one who helps another to unlock the potential to maximize their performance by guiding them to learn without teaching or telling them. Come to that in another slide. And also, rather than teaching or telling them, you help them to see new perspectives, choose the most optimal option, and engage them effectively to achieve greater results. Okay? That is the responsibility. That is who a coach is. That's what a coach does. So what you do really is help a person or institution to identify personal and professional goals, identify strengths and develop them, and identify weaknesses and tackle or improve on them. That's one of the responsibilities of a coach. What else do you do as a coach? What else does a coach do? You help to improve and maintain positive behavior and make change enjoyable. So when the management is asking for change, culture change, the change has to be enjoyable such that in the process, they are looking forward to the beginning of the rest of their lives or the rest of their work years with the institution, because, oh, they love the idea of this new change. They love the process. They love the feel. They love the goal. They love the picture, the big picture that has been painted. Oh, I see myself in there. It looks beautiful. I can't wait to begin to exude the greatness that I carry in that little place, that little part of the Mona Lisa picture. Probably I'm just a pupil or that dot there. But they see, the coach helps them to see the significance that they carry. Okay? Maintaining positive behavior. What else? Helps to increase their creativity and their flexibility. What else? Helps to improve performance, ensure health and wellness, because in everything you're doing, if your body pack up, you're not gonna have a body to go to that work. You need people that are mentally, physically, and emotionally sound to achieve a goal. The responsibility of a coach is to ensure that you have balance. And in that balance, health and wellness is very important. You are the champion of balance. You are to champion balance. That's what you do as a coach. So let's take it further. How do you do it? First, set the foundation. Your coaching starts from the recruitment table. That's where your coaching starts. That's where you define, confirm, and affirm ethical guidelines and professional standards acceptable to the organization. That is where you establish a mutually beneficial contract of agreement between the curators and the executors. You set that foundation. What's the next thing? You co-create the relationship. You establish trust with the vision curators and the vision executors. So remember, trust is at the middle and you are the one that holds the center because you're the one that keeps the two entities together. So you have to ensure that you co-create the relationship by establishing trust at the center. You have to communicate effectively. Communicating effectively requires that you listen. So some people feel effective communication is, you don't shout, it's not shouting down, it's not telling, it's not showing, it's not showing that you can speak. It's not coming with so many syntaxes and verbs and grammatical alignments to show that you can speak. There's so much more to communication than speaking. There's so much more to influencing people than just talking. So effective communication moves from just talking to influencing behavior. So all of that in communication, it embraces listening actively, questioning powerfully, asking the kind of questions that will elicit the person's thoughts. And this is to be done for management and will be done for the curators. So find out exactly what are the fears. Remember that empathy card, empathy chart I showed. So asking the question, what did that do? What do they want? What are they hearing? What do they feel? What are they saying? What are they doing? What are their fears? Asking those questions, asking the kind of questions which are called open-ended questions in coaching that elicit their thoughts and bring them to the place where they are able to pour out their thoughts and their feelings and their ideas to you. And based on after having done that, you help them, you provide structure. You provide the structure and alignment by what? By showing perspective. You pretty much show perspective by how you listen, by how you ask, by how you engage objectively, right? Communicating effectively. Next thing is facilitate the learning process and also go for results. You create awareness. By creating awareness, you do that by shifting perspectives. So the person just says, oh, aha, I never saw it that way. Coaches in the house will understand how it is that, and one of the most beautiful experience, I beg your pardon, the most beautiful experience being a coach is the aha moment. You know, it's exhilarating. It's beyond words, where the person just says, aha, I never saw it like that. It's not so. You didn't tell. Now, what we need to understand is when people find their reason, they run faster with it. Rather, they run longer with it. Why? It is their reason. So there's a question in leadership that says, if there were no penalties, if there were no sanctions, will your people still run with a vision when you are not there? Or do they only do it because there are sanctions tied to it, because there are penalties tied to it? When there is an understanding of their reason, which is discovered by them, they will run for longer. They will run with a purpose that is chosen by them. But when you tell, which is why the previous slide I said, you don't tell, you guide them to find, you guide management by asking. So you are the coach that will guide the management to restructure, to review, to shift perspectives. How else can I view this thing? What are the options? How else can I review? Can I consider this process? What else can we do? What do I want to achieve? What are the limiting factors? And how do I rise above it? How do I mitigate them? And then when you have helped them to see new perspectives and they become more aware, you design the action plan for them. And with the action plan, you set goals and timelines and ensure that they commit to it. How? By managing the progress and reinforcing the importance of being accountable. You will be accountable to someone. You most likely, as HR, you are accountable. You are also the accountability partner, probably the strongest accountability partner between the curators and the executors. Doing all of this will most definitely help Comfort experience a brand new, a swift and smooth process of culture change. And also remember, the thing about coaching is you come to the table with an open mind. Remember, in the words of the infamous president, HR is for everybody, yet for nobody. HR is not from the understanding I have of HR. And that's a personal understanding. You choose to stand with it if you don't, if you would. But I strongly believe that HR is not for management and HR is not for curators. HR is for balance. And that is where coaching comes in, to ensure balance. And where there is divergence in seeing, to be able to wear the cloak and help them to see. That is the way to build trust. And it's not, and coaching is not, probably you go to the curator side and they're like, this employee are idiots. They are very useless people. Yes, I believe they are really idiots. And then you go to the executor side, management is just useless. That's how it is, so very useless management. What do we have? We don't have an option. Now, what you don't realize that somewhere along the line, both parties already know that there is this, that there is, the center really doesn't hold. The center really just operates sycophancy. But being firm as an HR person and as a coach, and a coach has to be firm. A coach takes no side. A coach stands for the for the desirable, for the ultimate goal. And except you don't want, so every time when it goes back and forth, you're like, what do you want? The most important thing is what you want. Now, I need to also clarify here that in shining perspectives and shining lights, people could choose, both parties, both entities could choose. Now, what they choose may not turn out in the best interest, but what's important is at the time, make sure that it is always the most, that they agree after they have lined out the option. Comfort must now ensure that they choose what they consider to be the most optimal. So even if they go forward and that doesn't work, they can look back and say, at the time I picked this, it was what I considered to be the most optimal. If it didn't work, what next? You still guide without saying, hey, I told you you'd have chosen that one. No, there is no opinion. It is how else can we look and how else can we together choose what is the most optimal decision, choose the most optimal choice to chase after and see how it can help us achieve our goal. Okay, so coming to the table with an open mind at all times, and all you do is shine the light. When I was working on this thing, I had a very interesting illusion. Imagine that for those of you that, so this was the scenery that was playing in my head. For many of you that have watched Robin Hood, I need you to have a bit of a visualization moment with me and go into when Robin Hood is leading his fellow, the people he has saved from the bad people, and they are all in their hoods, and one person is holding a lamp, right? I need you to visualize with me now. I need to get into woods, not the village, not the village wood. Just enter the movie, right? I don't want you to enter the bush around, no. Enter the film. Imagine that you're in a Yubo film. This is your moment of being in Hollywood, okay? Make the best of this moment. Now imagine that you're one of those people that Robin Hood is leading through the pathway, leading through the woods in the dead of the night, and you're trying to escape from kidnappers, or you're trying to escape from the people from the bourgeoisies who are trying to exploit the people in the lower Cada. And what happens? They're like, oh, it's dark. And then Robin Hood holds up the light and he's shining the light. As a coach, that's what you do. You shine the light for them to see perspectives. And from consistently and constantly, and from, remember, when we're talking about what builds trust, from consistently, dependably, reliably upholding the light, even when they've seen the light, so they're walking, and they're just going because they see the light. In the event that they get to a place where there's no more light, they won't say shine the light. They will say, where is the light? They won't say hold up the light. They'll say, where is the light? We need the light. Why? Because you have held the light so long that you have become the light. As a coach, you know how it is that they say you can't give someone, you can't water and not be watered. You can't light someone's candle and not also be lighting yours. You know, those things that we say. In the same way, when you embrace, when you hold on to a light long enough, what coaching does for you, what coaching will do as an HR professional is also to help you self-improve. Because by shining the light, one of the also beautiful things in coaching is, for any coach that is really committed to the process, the first thing you do is self-coach. You have to be that light you are shining. And by shining the light, you're shining the light for them to see. But as you shine the light, you also see yourself and say, it's like I'm part of the person causing this culture problem. I see myself there too. So you're shining the light for them to see, and you are working on yourself as well so that you can be worthy of upholding the light. And with time, you soon become the light. So management is trying to make a decision for so many years. Like HR is not a C-suite. HR is not a C-suite. When you become the light, you won't need to ask them. They will call you because they need the light. When you become the light, when you become the voice of reason, when you become the one who helps them to see perspectives, when they are trapped and have a mental block, you step in because you are the light in the middle of their darkness. You bring balance between the curators and the executioners. That is your responsibility. You are the one that brings light. You are the one that brings balance. And balance is the ability to merge the thinking or the reasonable brain with the feeling or the emotional brain so that you can have a wise brain. So whether on the curator's part of it or on the executor's part of it, be able to balance at every time. You are the champion of balance. You are the balance champion. You are the enabler to ensure that every time there is balance between thinking and feeling, between curators and executors, to ensure that there is balance in the organization. So eventually what would happen is the vision curators and the vision executors, remember, are helped by the enabler, who is the indefatigable enabler. But he now has to move from just being an enabler, HR the enabler, to HR the coach. Beyond just enabling, understanding the dynamics of coaching and seeing how you can hold and eventually become the light for the organization to see you are much more relevant, you are indispensable, because decisions cannot be taken in the C-suite or anywhere without you. And even if they are going to leave now, you also need to understand that in the process of going back the few slides, of going through perspectives, in aligning perspectives, some people will have to drop out of the way because where you are not able to marry their lenses, if they find out after aligning, you're like, oh, really, I shouldn't be here. It is best to let them go and get people who will be there and who are ready to see as can be seen. Just ensuring that in letting them go, they are going with a mutual agreement of understanding. They will even be the ones that say, oh, I actually need to go. I realize now. And then you can now coach them also through to make better decisions in their future career options. And ask, okay, so thank you so much for how long you've been here. Moving on, what are your options? So we found out that this is not a good organization for you based on where you see, how you see, and what your skills and talents are. What are your options? Where do you want to go? How will you ensure between now and then that you achieve it? What are the timelines you're giving yourself? How are you going to self-improve? How do you go through what I call the self-re-engineering process? Right? So that's for those that need to exit, but you also have to be willing to embrace those that want to exit when it's time to exit, right? That's on that. So HR doesn't just become the coach, but eventually HR becomes the chief coach. Why? Because just like Moses, you can't stand alone. There has to be a time where you delegate, understanding the coaching process. You now have to get sub-coaches in your line managers and your team leads because they are the ones that work closely with those people and they only escalate to you. So you are the chief coach of so Comfort will now become the chief coach of the organization, working with other sub-coaches to create an enabling environment that provides sound, sight, and experiences to birth the kind of change that will move company XYZ from where it is to where it ultimately desires to be. I hope with all these points, I have been able to prove to you, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that the next phase for HR in the current working place and moving forward is to move from being HR to also being organizational coach and chief organizational coach. Thank you very much. God bless you for this. I'll take questions and feedback of any form.
Wow. Please let us fill the chat and let's show our appreciation to Coach StephREDD. So many points here. I mean, my notes are full. I have about, in fact, so many pages full. And, you know, I'll just take some of those points so that we can refresh. She's brought us full circle. She leveraged storytelling, visualization, and in fact, it's been so impactful. This is a presentation and a recording we each have to go back to. But going back to, you know, what she said, I have so many questions. I don't know about you. I definitely have a lot of questions. You know, she talked about perspective, you know, and she talked about the environment, the behavior, and culture. She emphasized that the environment birthed feelings, emotions, values, and beliefs in the vision executors. The way she talked about, you know, the vision curators for management and the vision executors as employees with HR as an enabler is simply unforgettable. You know, she also talked about the need to ensure alignment of perspective by leveraging on the empathy map. She talked about comfort being first, you know, and coaching herself before she can give to others, because you just cannot give what you do not have. She also gave that expose on who is a coach. I mean, I can keep going on and on. She talked about the how, she broke it down from setting the foundation to co-creating the relationship, communicating effectively, facilitating the learning and the results. You know, and the way she concluded in terms of becoming the chief coach and getting, you know, the line managers to become sub coaches was completely amazing, amazing. So please let us drop our questions. I definitely have, you know, questions. And, you know, Coach StephREDD, the question is that for an HR professional who is just starting in coaching, what would you say is the first step that they should take? Thank you.
And HR professionals who is just starting in coaching, one of the first questions I'll ask is why coaching and what they want to achieve from it, right? And when they eventually find out why, it's now to begin to first self-coach. It always starts from self. I believe it always starts. That's where I pretty much start from. I was speaking to one of my coaches in training who I'm supervising yesterday, and talking about the first thing you want to do is open your mind to. So the person pretty much is in HR and just says I'm a career coach. Now, you can't quite immediately dive to want to be a career coach. You want to broaden your perspective and understand the different spheres of coaching before you settle in. Because then, interestingly, as a coach in a place of work, in XYZ, for example, you may be a coach on the job, and you may also end up being a coach to the individuals on the job. So if they come with, when someone has marital issues, many of the times when you have employees being disengaged, and I'll quickly tell a story about a particular Oprah Winfrey show that I watched about a woman who her husband was domestically violent. He was beating her and getting their 13-year-old son to record it. So he had a home video of the process, right? And he made sure she had no friend, but the only person that used to see her with bruises, sometimes she said, oh, I fell, and all that, was her supervisor, the supervisor, the HR manager in her place of work. So for every time she comes, and after many years, this was happened for like over 18 years. So one of those days, she said she just knew that she had a feeling that he was eventually going to kill her. And just in case she dies, so that somebody will know what happened to her and save her children, she wrote a note and dropped it for the HR manager that, do not come and see me, because one of the days she came to see her and the husband beat her for allowing somebody to come to see her. So she said, if I ever give you this signal, know that you should get me help. So for every time, when eventually, long story short, when they took the case to court, what made the man get 52 years imprisonment was the HR manager's journal. Every day she writes, Comfort came to work with a bruise on her face today. Comfort came with a swollen ankle today. Comfort, blah, blah. All of that, a journal was what turned the jury in favor of, and then the part where she says, Comfort just mentioned that something, a recording, there was a video. That was when they now went to the house and got a stack of home videos of the sons recording and telling her, call her this name, call her that name, children recording their mother being battered by the father. So the major take home for me was the HR manager, who was not, Pastor, you are late today, right? But being able to, on one of the responsibilities that you must know is that you need to also grow to the place of trust, where you can also help them see perspectives, manage the home front so that they can be more effective in the workplace. Because they will not achieve this if that is faulty. Many people lose it. Many people are not committed at work, either because they don't have money to pay school fees or something, or their visions are not aligned. They don't have career clarity. They're not sure. They just want to earn money. Should be I finish NYC, I finish, no more money. I need to send money to my, just give me work to work. I can do it, whatever works. Oh, there's no HR. Is there technical, sir? There's no technical. Okay. Is there PA to the assistant of the MD, sir? I'll just take, and I'm very hardworking, sir. I can do anything, sir. Right? So those are the places where, as an HR person growing up, you want to be able to expand your mind first on the possibilities that are ahead, and begin to gradually start with, after coaching yourself, start with coaching your teams, the people, I mean, your pretty much your fellow people, your fellow employees, your collaborators and your colleagues pretty much, and build trust on that level. As you grow, when you're able to build trust from that level, as you go higher, the trust becomes stronger. When the place time of recommendation comes, you can be recommended as someone who, this person has the potential. I remember when I had this challenge with my job, when we were just E1s, she was able to guide me through this and I found clarity. She has the competence. So it's not just about, because another thing is, don't just get the coaching competence, use it, whether an opportunity has presented itself or not. Use it on yourself, with your colleagues, with those at your level, and then use it to position yourself for leverage. It's just a matter of time. The cupbearer will remember that, you helped me die in prison, and they will mention your name to Pharaoh.
Wow. Thanks so much for that story. I mean, even in these days of remote work, it's so critical that we empathize, with our employees, knowing that some of them are working from home. And I mean, you said it all, the need for one to realize that we need to open our mind first. If you're new in this, broaden your perspective, realize that you need to, yes, coach on the job, but there might be something bigger happening with the employees on the life front. And, you also said something about journaling. It's so important because you never know where it might come in, and then build trust over time. That's amazing. We're still waiting, for your questions. So, Coach Steph, you mentioned regarding the empathy map, but I wanted to also ask, are there other tools, that Comfort can use to ascertain, the perspectives of the vision curators and executors as well? Thank you.
Yes, there are tools. So pretty much there are quite a number of coaching tools which she has to deploy herself. So as a coach, I pretty much have tools that I have developed over time and those that I use from other associates. And then one of the things I would recommend, particularly for the C-suite, is the wheel of life, for example, the wheel of life of finding balance. Now, I know that the wheel of life is just a wheel, right? But for some people, the wheel of life is 8, minimum of 8. My wheel of life is 10. Some people's wheel of life is 12. But in that minimum of 8, which is more like the standard, there are 8 wheels. So one of the tools, pretty much what I use when it comes to that business and career aspect of the wheel, I said, okay, so in the wheel of life, it's just a pie, right? Let's extract that pie and blow it open into an actual wheel. So it's now the career wheel. So if it's 8, if it's 10, break down what's your vision. So let's say, and it could be any wheel. It's not necessarily just that. So if they say, if the management comes and says, I have such and such vision, And I love to use metaphors. So I want a change. When they said give her assignment, right? Execute change management, ASAP. Okay, sir, what would you like change to look like? What should change look like? What should change feel like? What should change sound like? How should change be experienced? What should people touch, feel, hear, and experience in this place of change? So engaging certain, for example, and then getting them, remember you have to go back to redesign and redefine what the rules of engagement are. So those are one of the tools of engaging the wheel. So not just the wheel of life, but then breaking the wheel into sub wheels, from a pie to a sub pie to another pie to another wheel, and all of that. And also using the T-GROW model. Now the GROW model is the most important tool in coaching, and being able to follow through, understanding that there's a goal to be achieved. There's a goal in every aspect of our lives. Everything has a goal. You have to have a goal for eating. You have to have a goal for working. You have to have a goal for marriage. You have to have a goal for every, honestly, you have to have a goal for every other thing. Otherwise, you can't measure. Otherwise, you can't quite know what I have achieved and how long do I want to do it for, and what do I want to achieve subsequently. So understanding what the goal is, realizing, well, where are we? So this is pretty much what you're doing, the business process reengineering. Where are we at this point? This is our reality. Okay, what are our options? So we already have defined where we want to go, which is the goal. This is where we are now. So that's gap analysis. What we have versus what we do not have, rather, what we have, what we want, and what we do not have. That's gap analysis, okay? So based on the gap, what are our options? What do we need to do to achieve it? What do we need to put in place to achieve that goal? What are our options? Okay, this, that, and the other. Come together and put all of, so which of them will give us the optimal result? And then after that, you now move to the next phase of, based on what you have chosen as would be the optimal result, okay, what will be our way forward? So that's where you now map out the strategy and the tactics that you are going to use to execute the option that you have picked. That's the T-GROW model. So two very important tools are the wheel of life, the balance wheel of life, which you can break down and pretty much pick the work, business, or the career that affects the organization, whatever it is that affects, and then engage the GROW model to help the person actually visualize clearly, see exactly what they want to achieve, and have a compelling vision to run to. What keeps you running is the compelling vision. The moment you stop seeing, you will see nothing else to live for. Many times when people commit suicide is because they see nothing else. You have to constantly see, whether you're seeing with your mind's eyes or you're seeing with your physical eyes. Most generally, it should be your physical eyes because it has to be strong. You know, when Muhammad Ali says, I float like a butterfly, I sting like a bee, your hands cannot hit what your eyes don't see. I pretty much curated that to be your hands cannot embrace what your mind has not envisioned. You have to see something with your mind's eyes and constantly see it, even when your physical eyes do not see it. And helping the people, helping the curators and the executors to constantly see a vision even before it becomes, is the most important responsibility for a coach. So they are running. When I give examples on something I wrote somewhere about how Martin Luther King painted a vision that he never lived to see. But it was so clear that people were willing to run for it and stake their lives to it to see it come to pass. That is leadership. That's visionary leadership. So how well as HR can you help people? Remember, you are the enabler. You help them by shining the light, by shifting perspectives to paint a picture that they are willing to come. So they see the picture in their head, and that's what keeps them running. So your work becomes less. So you're not like, go and do it, go on, you have not written this memo, or we have timelines. No, they know timelines. They know that by so time, I want to deliver on this. So they are self-motivated. You help primary responsibility. You help to build intrinsic motivation over extrinsic motivation. So when extrinsic motivation over time, when it fades, there's no more determination to want to continue. But when there is an intrinsic motivation, they run even when you are not saying run. Yeah, so I think I'll just
Wow.
leave
Amazing. I mean, even thinking about the shift in perspective that you brought regarding using the GROW model and the will of life for a corporate organization rather than individuals, I mean, that is really, really valuable insight. Thanks so much for that. And I'd like to hand over to Ayodeji now. Really appreciate your time and the insights you've shared. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening through. I greatly appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Steph, for that session. I deeply appreciate it. I'd like to know if there are any other persons with maybe one or two questions, even if it's a feedback of any sort or a comment that you'd like to share. While people think on that, thank you again, Steph, for that session. I appreciate it on so many levels. The first being that I truly believe that, the HR professional, the HR as the coach is the professional of the future. I mean, if you look at many of the innovations that are coming into our world nowadays, and of course, I think you stayed on many of those ideas a lot during this session, particularly during the first few minutes, explaining what I define as life skills. Because, the HR professional has tools, it has methodology. More than anything, we have the HR value chain defined for us. What you did that was, I think, very unique in the first few minutes of the session was you defined the scenarios. There's a guy, Michael Watkins, who wrote the book First 90 Days. I love that book. I've read wherever I've gone to. He just corroborates your idea in this session that, in any organization, there are contexts within contexts. That is not particularly written in paper, that you need to be able to prefer solutions to. Else you find that you are just solving the surface problem, and then of course you look at the bottom line and you're realizing that it appears that I have, spent 3, 6, whatever months we spent trying to deploy a solution, but you've not solved the problem. You've not really solved the problem. The question or the problem being in the first place, you didn't even define the problem properly. And that's what you've tried to help to redefine for us. And that's what the HR for the future as the coach is. With management, you're redefining the problems. You're helping them see the scenarios and the context that exists. More importantly, the context within the context. And I like to use that word a lot because not a lot of people get that. And that's what you as the coach, your skills, your unique skills are. We've got business process tools. I happen to do that for my organization. Being an organization change specialist. We have all these tools, we have all these frameworks. But frameworks will not solve the problems that are not written in paper. Because frameworks don't even identify those problems. So how do people see? How do people reason? What is their internal value framework that you don't even know? It's not written in paper. How do you solve that problem? So I think that it's so key and it's so true what you've done. Thank you again, everyone. Yes, Coach Lara has a question. She just dropped in the chat. She says, how do we get HR tools to embrace more coaching practices? And let me just, for that, I guess this is the last question, but let me just share a perspective on this. Because often you find that even the bigger objections to coaching practices, coaching philosophies or methodologies are often management guys. Because, what they only understand is profit and loss and, bottom line, if it's minus and plus, it's only numbers they get, right? So how do you get HR, and then perhaps even more importantly, management folks to embrace and to deploy or use more coaching practices and methodologies and tools? What have you found, that has been useful? I guess we can just round up with that. Hi, Steph, did you get my question? Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get whether the last thing was a question. Which of them? Is it the question of how do we embrace coaching practice?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's it. I was just trying to
Is that
reiterate my
question
own
for
idea
me?
of what I said.
Is that question for me or for, I mean, everyone, for the HR professionals in-house to, how do we get HR to embrace more coaching practice? It's how do we spread the word pretty much, I think. Coach Lara, do you want to help me here?
Coach Lara asked the question, very interesting.
So, no,
Yeah,
yes, I know she
asked the question. Thank you
yeah,
so
so
much.
how do we get them to embrace? I mean, we've had this session now. It has to now be a decision that is made by the coach, like by Comfort herself. Comfort has to be the one to see reason, having perceived, for example, I want to assume that everybody here would have now seen, for those that are not coaches, would now see the importance and the relevance of becoming a coach to improve their abilities and to enable them to become better HR professionals. But then the question also is, are you an HR professional by choice and by design, or by stumbling on it? Because that will also guide why you do it. So not just now going to acquire a certification that you find out you're not going to use later, but also, and so if you're in it, you have to pretty much check, why am I here and what do I want to help this organization achieve? And understanding is very important. How do I want to enable them to be all that they want to be? And to do that, having understood your position, your responsibility, you now go improve yourself by taking on the coaching responsibility and bring it to the table. So quite importantly, first, HR people in the house, having clearly defined if you have, why not, what will stop you from becoming a coach? That's the question. I'm throwing the question to, let me throw the question to everybody. Why are you not a coach if you're not a coach? What is stopping you? How do we get you to embrace the practice? Please let us know. So I'm throwing the question back to everybody in the house. What can we do to make
Yes,
Can I offer just some
yes. Okay, sorry, I saw Coach Ayon, go on.
for some perspective. And I think you already mentioned, and it's as simple as it's difficult to preach a gospel that you yourself haven't experienced for yourself. I found, and I think that I see this trend with many of the folks that go take coaching courses, is that you are best served as a coach if many of the methodology practices you found that it worked for yourself. I found that from the first 3 months of me leaving OLCA, I had more loose goals. I was clearer about my life. You didn't have to tell me much more to use coaching methodologies on myself. I found that I was doing, like you said, many of these tools, and I really hope that I can maybe take this as a feedback for us to maybe find a masterclass to take all of those methodologies and use them in real life scenarios. I guess we tried to do that, but there wasn't enough time. The team grow, the wheel of life, and really use it in real organizational contexts and let people see how useful they can be. And really, that's how to embrace it. So when you think skill, you think, whenever I think skill, trying to define a solution skill, I'm thinking quick, iterative, agile ways of using it. So say, for instance, you've got an employee that comes to you with a particular problem. Utilize the coaching methodology right there and there, Let that person see because you show the framework where the coach becomes, the HR becomes the chief coach, because he or she has been able to deploy the solutions across a very number of people, and they've bought into those practices themselves, right? So within whatever small, scenario you find yourself, whether it's trying to get a line manager to accept a way of thinking, a way of performance management, use coaching practices and methodologies on those. And then you find that those changes just scale themselves pretty much along the way. I find that people love solutions to problems. So if you're able to find them solutions, they'll buy it. They really will. Everybody significantly wants to find a solution to a problem. And if you are the solution, why not? Coaching is accepted, and then you can scale coaching perhaps across the HR, work of life, and even more important, at the larger scale in the organization.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Thanks, Coach Ayo. It would be nice to hear from the audience. Any views from the audience in response to the question? Do we still have Dari? Okay. Any views? I mean, no wrong or right answer. It's just your perspective on how do we get more HR professionals to embrace coaching practice.
Can we put Coach Tolu on the spot? She's gunning for a number of, I suppose, HR professionals.
Yes, I agree.
Have views on that.
Coach Tolu?
Hello, everyone. So I just heard my name. I've been in between sessions and trying to hear a bit from this, a bit from that. So the question, I think, is how can we help HR practitioners to embrace the coaching profession, right?
Yes, coaching practice, yes.
How can we help them? HR G.E.Ms. HR G.E.Ms is HR G.E.Ms is the go-to place. So, oh yes.
Yeah, okay, great. That's true.
So HR G.E.Ms is the go-to place. But what I'm actually saying that number one, having to relate with a community of coaches and actually committing to going through a coach training program. That's how I guess that's how we can get HR professionals talking more about it, even in our environment. So, I mean, when I say the workplace, sometimes because some HR professionals are not exposed to it, or they've just heard of it, but have not actually experienced it, they're not, and that was my experience, they will shut it down. When I was first introduced to coaching, I was meant to be an internal coach, but my head of HR at the time couldn't sort of comprehend it. And she was like, why would you put aside all the administrative HR practices and all and say you want to be talking to people? You're wasting time, and how she couldn't see it. But like StephREDD started with in terms of the iceberg model, which is a model I always use when talking about HR and coaching. It's the fact that we are driving performance and results and the numbers, but we're not looking at what is driving the behavior, what are the drivers behind the employee that you want to perform. So it's really looking at how do we expose, looking for this kind of engagement and connecting to a community of HR professionals that are already in the space to try to understand what it is. So thank you very much, Coach Lara, for putting this together. And it was open, so it wasn't only for HR G.E.Ms community, but open to other people from other platforms. So well done. I think we need to do more of this and also bring in more people to experience it, because what they haven't experienced, they will not understand.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Coach Tolu, for that. Okay, KG's hand is up. KG, back to you.
Yes, so, I was just also thinking that we can also begin to lobby a group like CIPM in terms of sharing success stories, of organizations, during conferences, meetups, so that by the time those success stories are being shared in terms of, what the value coaching is bringing to an organization, other HR professionals can begin to get on board and, become curious and get with the program. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, sis.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. Coach Ewa, over to you.
All right, then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your feedback and then more importantly, your time, everyone that has joined this session. We hope to have much more of this. We'll be bringing in in-house and of course outside skill area experts to, speak to the area of, coaching and, of course, more context than just the workplace that we exist in. So thank you again for your time. I'll round up with this. All right then, everyone. Coach Lara, if there isn't anything else, I need your permission to round up and say bye to everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Coach StephREDD. That was an amazing session. Thank you,
for the
everyone that has stayed up
listening.
to this time. Thank you, Coach Tolu, for that perspective. Thank you, Coach Ayo. Thank you, KG. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. And we're looking forward to having this session on a monthly basis. So the next session will be next month. And once we finalize on that, we'll share the topic with everyone. Thank you. And let's continue to make impact. Thank you. Bye, everyone. I enjoy the rest of your evening. God bless.
Bye, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.